Okay. How's it going, guys? Joe here. Today we're going to be continuing some of that Fitbit development stuff. So let's just get to it. So I'm going to be making some more changes to the program, mainly because I have been collecting some data recently, and there's something that is probably affecting the data overall that, like, not in a good way. So I think what might be happening is it's always like getting the average every it's getting the average way too often, and the whole idea was to get average over time. I'd have it like span out over the course of time versus like if I get the average every 30 seconds, well then when I calculate the average I hardly have any numbers to work with, and that could throw things off quite a ways. So essentially what the output looks like is, let's see, that. So as you can see on the right, there's like an average of 57 so many times in a row. That's calculating the average way too often, which could potentially throw things off a little bit just because of how often it's doing it. So I would essentially like it to not do it quite as often as it is. See, like right there, kept doing 60 over and over and over again. So I think what I would like to have happen is have at least 10 minutes of spacing in between when getting the average and stuff. So at least 10 minutes worth of spacing. So I probably dealt with smaller numbers if there's like any movement to reset it, but to be honest with you, I think we should verify that. But also, I kind of want there to be like at least, let's say, 10 minutes of space in between each time it gets the average. To be honest with you, that is a little bit. Honestly, would 5 minutes be okay? Well, this is kind of hard to decide exactly what I want to do with that, because 5 minutes is what we're doing if it's like any greater than 0. But yeah, it's 5 or 10 minutes. Actually, I might start writing the program and then decide then. But point is, it's collecting averages too often, and it's not. That's not what I want at all. And it's gonna make sense later on because I'm really just making that kind of a change to it right now. But the time after that, assuming that the data is the way I want it to be, there's going to be quite a few changes I'm going to make to it. So what I think I'm going to have it do is, if I can get an estimate on REM, I want to see if I can get it to estimate time ranges that it thinks REM occurred in. Then I'm going to try to like pay attention to what actually happens to see if I can confirm this. Like if I wake up from a dream at some time, then I could like confirm I've been dreaming for at least this much. And if I have a decent amount of dream recall, then I could be like, it had to have been at least 20 minutes, especially given the dream recall I have, maybe even closer to 40. But like that's the idea. Then I look at the time range that the log reports and see if it's anything close to that. It might not be if the heart rate just happens to be low during the dream. That's why I'm taking the highest numbers as part of the average instead of just the whole thing. I want it to be the top numbers getting, half of the top numbers getting averaged. So I think what I'm going to have happen this time is I'm going to make it so that it's, now I don't know if you saw, but there were some points where there was actually quite a lot of movement. There were points where it even got more than 500, like that 733 that just passed right there. So there are some moments where the movement is quite a bit, but I don't want that to happen too frequently necessarily. So I think what I may end up doing is increasing the amount of movement it is before it's like a critical point that I want to start calculating stuff, right? I think I might actually start out. I was thinking of doing 500 because sometimes it does go to like 800 even. So, but I might actually start with 250 or 300. So, without further ado, let's just get started with programming. Um, so first of all, I did update the GitHub with actual code now. So, if you go to my Lucid Dreaming GitHub, I do actually have, I have some not documentation, but in the description I updated that on this video. I still gotta do it with the rest, with the link to this. So the resources folder, that's where it's got like index.view, which is where I created all the different text areas. And that's probably not going to change, and it's going to work on any version, so that's why there's only one copy of resources. And with all the different live streams, I put the date on it according to the date of the live stream. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know if all the dates correlate correctly, like October 2nd. I don't know if that's a real correlation at all. I might have copy and pasted the same thing multiple times, so I could have some of the dates wrong, but the point is I have different versions, and it is in order. Like the date, if you look at the order of the date, you can be pretty certain that the order of programming will match that. So the date's more of an order indicator, to be honest with you. So like this is the most recent code, and I just put index.js there. If I end up modifying some of the other files, I'll try to remember to do that as well. So this is essentially the program right now, I believe. I think I also did make a change to it. I don't remember exactly what I changed. I think it might have had to do with the heart rate collection. Oh, this if statement right here, I think. So essentially, the average HR would only ever get reset if, oh, what? That's interesting. I did not know GitHub could do that. So essentially, the average HR wouldn't happen unless it was more than 5 minutes, with the total movement being greater than 0 at any given moment. So this event will trigger every time we add a new data point, which will be like every 30 seconds. So this will trigger every 30 seconds. And I was making it so that this would only happen if there was some form of movement and we had at least 10 indexes to store it. So, and this would happen regardless. So it adds a data point regardless of what's occurring. Then the index goes up. So, yeah, so see how I have the total is greater than or equal to 100? I think for now I'm going to bump that up to 300 might be a better compromise. I think I'm going to do 300 for now. Because like I said, there are some times that it goes to 500. I don't want it to be doing it too often, but I don't want it to do it too little either. And I think I'll have the minimum maybe be like 5 or 10 minutes. So yeah, this is, so it doesn't run this if total is greater than 0, then that heart rate index is less than 10. It doesn't run in that scenario. So by the way, you probably noticed that the data didn't really appear until like 7:50, and that's because I just about pulled an all-nighter last night. I didn't really get to bed till about 5:30, so data collection didn't start happening until that time, so probably not the best night of data because the sleep chart, for example, um, yeah, I really didn't get a whole lot of sleep. Um, Sleep chart looks about as basic as you can imagine, and remember, this sleep chart probably isn't accurate because, like I said, it's only doing it based on movement and heart rate, as well as like a standardized sleep chart, and determining what's most likely by analyzing it overall. And that's probably not going to be accurate because actually, just the other day, um, it there was an entire block of light sleep when I clearly remember waking up from a dream. Can't remember exactly where that was. Yeah, right here. I had a dream somewhere around here, and I pretty much just woken up from a dream around this area. It didn't report any REM. In fact, and this is less REM than I'm used to, so I'm willing to bet that it had to have been at least 30 minutes. And look how there's like no red tick marks in that area too. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the REM was occurring. So I bet the REM was around a half hour because I do clearly remember dreams. There was lots of stuff happening, like I was going down. I wasn't lucid or anything, but I had quite a bit of dream recall. Like I was going down some stairs. I was carrying a bunch of stuff. There was a line of people, and I was supposed to carry a basketball. So for some reason, I had it wrapped around a string. I think it was a basketball. I don't think it was a bowling ball or anything like that. But essentially, the person below me kept getting hit by the basketball that was hanging on my string. Like I was trying not to hit them, but no matter what I was doing, it managed to hit them in the head over and over again. And I'm like constantly apologizing. I just can't think about. I couldn't stop thinking about how unlucky this person was. They just kept getting hit in the head over and over again, and I'm like, I'm trying not to hit you, but it keeps happening anyway. I'm so sorry. That's not really under my control or whatever. It almost seemed like they were trying to get hit on purpose. It didn't really look like it, but they kept getting hit as if they were trying to get hit on purpose. Like that's essentially what was going on. And even after we got down all the stairs, I managed to hit them completely by accident in a completely different way, like with my elbow or something. So yeah, that happened when it wasn't reporting any REM. That happened as well as actually getting water in my uncle's ear. They supposedly had ear tubes, which they don't really, but getting water in like my ear, for example, with ear tubes, that can cause a lot of pain and possibly even an infection. In the dream, my uncle supposedly had them, and I supposedly accidentally splashed them. So that wasn't really great either. Then there was, I actually let a wasp in the house, and I was like asking, what do I do about this? They're just like, leave it alone or something like that. I'm cursing. There's some kids that hear me. Then I get mimicked with what I said essentially. Like all that stuff happened right here essentially within some time range around here, and it's not reporting REM. All of that stuff did happen around that time though. I think I remember waking up right here too, and it definitely wasn't right there. It was definitely after that time period. So, enough ramble. Let's get to the program. So, yeah, the moral of the story is last night wasn't really great for data collection, but pretty much every time it reported one of these red tick marks, there was quite a bit of motion. I believe it was pretty much always over 500. I think for now I'm just going to do over 300. So, and I don't think I'm going to have the 300 be inclusive. So, let's get to the program. So yeah, you can essentially browse any of the versions here, and maybe I'll link the specific one to the video, but you should be able to figure it out from this. And then of course that index.js is in the app folder. Then the under resources, the index.view is assuming you have like a Fitbit sense or whatever. Ionic, it would be index.gui. Honestly, if there's an error about some file missing, like widget dot something is missing, rename the widget file to whatever the. I have not been showing my screen once again. I'm so sorry. I gotta have some sort of reminder. I could put this on the other side when I'm not showing the screen. That would work. So then I won't forget to like switch to my screen. So essentially I was talking about how these are like all the different versions of the program. You should be able to access any one of them. And then I was talking about the resources folder. So this is just a basic icon that I made that looks like this. But this index.view on the Ionic and stuff with SDK 4.2 versus 5.0 right here. And of course I didn't include this file, but yeah, if it's 4.3, then I think it's index.gui. You'll get an error down in the bottom saying some file like index.something is missing or widget.something is missing. Rename those index and widget to whatever it says it's missing, because the extension is different depending on what you're doing. So just thought that was worth mentioning. So let's actually try seeing if we can fix what I was talking about before. So essentially essentially I want it to be like at least 300, but I also want to have at least, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes before it would even report anything at all. So now like right here, so I'm trying to think of why I put this if statement here. I did this off camera. I think it's just because I want this to occur. Like I want all this to occur, but while that's occurring, I don't want this to occur if this is the reason it's being triggered. I think that's probably what I did. And I put it all in the if statement. I'm kind of repeating myself, but I'm not super concerned about redundancy like that, so that's not a problem. So yeah, so I think if I'm not mistaken, as long as HR index is less than 10, which means that if it's like before the 5-minute mark, because HR index goes up once every 30 seconds, so, and since I don't want anything to happen within the first 5 minutes of doing this, that if statement will make it so it doesn't like set average heart rate to whatever this average heart rate is. I believe like this will run regardless, but average HR, honestly I could, well no, I wouldn't do a ternary operator, I don't think. That's like this really fancy if statement. You can set a variable to it essentially, so like I can set a variable to something based on a certain condition. I'm not even gonna go over that right now, but you probably sort of get the idea. So yeah, so I think regardless of what happens, it'll reset the heart rates array, which is that correct? I think so. Then HR index will also get reset. Then it returns either the average heart rate or 0. Oh, so that's why. So average heart rate, it might be resetting. It's just that it's happening so frequently that it doesn't seem like it is, because it's returning whatever average HR is. But can what do you call an if statement that has like and or? Um, like is there like a compound if statement or something like that? I'm trying to think of what that's called, because I'm wondering if you can do that with a ternary operator. Because if you can, then what I would in theory be able to do is be like average HR equals this. Then if it's true, then it's whatever that this average HR is. Otherwise, it's 0. Then I could get rid of this if statement, and in theory it would accomplish the same thing. I haven't actually really used a ternary operator that often, so I'm kind of proud of doing that. But yeah, that's essentially a different way of looking at it. So it either gets the average heart rate or it's 0. So average heart rate equals either get average heart rate or 0. But the heart rates, that's for sure heart rates with an S, yes. So the heart rates essentially resets, and HR index too. So I don't know if that'll work or not, but so where's check second? What I would like to do is maybe do some testing with it a little bit faster, just to kind of get an idea of what's happening. Since I'm using my Fitbit, I'm gonna wear my blue light blocker, which is helpful for the night. Ironically, kind of relates to what this live stream is about overall. I was charging my Fitbit because I forgot to, so I'm just gonna grab it real quickly. It does charge surprisingly quickly. It was at 24% at like the beginning of this live stream. Now it's 79, which is pretty close to my computer's current percent. And for those of you who are wondering how I get it to like 80 and not 100, it is generally better for the overall battery life, because they slowly degrade over time. 80% slightly better than 100. So at least on my Mac, I've been using some software called Al Dente, like this, this might not be the latest version. I actually still have to upgrade Mac to Mac OS Big Sur, it's called, I guess. I still have Catalina, which is like a year old, and one of the reasons I've been procrastinating on it is because I'm not sure if it's going to work with this app. It might, but if Mac had like a rollback feature like Windows does, where it creates a windows.old file, they could revert back if an upgrade. If you want to like revert an upgrade within 30 days, you can. I don't know if Mac has a similar thing. If it did, I certainly would have tried upgrading sooner, but I don't know if this is going to be compatible. This is really nice because, yeah, you can select a target. If I drag it down to 40, the battery will probably stay at 80 for quite a while. It pretty much does whatever it needs to do to maintain that current percent. It won't really go any higher. And of course, it's not perfect. Sometimes it might be like 83, but it's within a couple percent, which is pretty cool that you could do that without like. If you want to do this on a mobile device, you might have to jailbreak or get some, or root Android or get some special hardware for that. But here you don't even have to do that. You just use the software and it just works pretty much. And if you're using Boot Camp, it applies to that too. You don't even have to install it on Windows or anything. You just install it on Mac and it applies. It's like it goes into the kernel somehow itself. So it's actually really cool. This may not be the latest version, but yeah, so if you want to have it only charged to 80 to prolong the life of the battery, check that software out. It might work with Mac. I don't know for sure, but how am I this distracted? I'm just trying to do this one simple thing, and here I'm majorly distracted. So I'm gonna enable the developer bridge, and this won't trigger till 2.5 hours later. So I'm temporarily copying and pasting it out here, then doing like 1 per second, and just kind of seeing what happened essentially. I think I might launch a simulator just so it's open. So now we're essentially deploying the app to the Fitbit, and it's probably going to error out on installing the first time. That's a connection issue. I just have to try it again if that occurs. I would seriously consider doing like a local network just to work around these networking problems. Consistency kind of sucks sometimes. I thought it was kind of interesting how Windows wasn't as bad. When I ran Windows on here, the consistency with the live stream didn't seem like it was nearly as bad as it is with Mac. So since webcams don't seem to work as good on Mac, we got one data point, but that's it. I wonder why. Nothing to do with movement, I don't think. I'm not seeing anything in the console, so. Oh, right. Just like last time, the interval was resetting. Did you notice on that video that the second was off just by 1? And then it went to 0 and 30 eventually, so the formula doesn't seem like it should be what it is, but oh, I hope you saw that okay, because the bitrate was just dropping for a second. Okay, now we got a bunch of data points, so the average is always 0 so far. So I think there has to be a point where, so that was 154. Let's try to get it to 300. So total is greater than 300. Oh, so it's not right. So it's not actually doing it within the first 5 minutes. So, oh wait. So the heart rate index is like. So it has to do 10 entries with 0 motion in order to be able to do this, I believe. Line 181. Oh, that's supposed to just be greater than. I just had a little syntax error. So it's collecting once per second. Oh, I thought there was going to be a connection issue. So it's of course not getting any averages right now. So I'm essentially looking at what's on the Fitbit. I know you can't really see it. I wish there was a way to like broadcast it or something. I could click that screenshot, but I did that the first time and it errored out for some. It makes the connection drop out for some reason. Let's see what happens if I can do 0 motion for like 10 times. Right there. It still didn't average it out, probably because of we have to have at least 300 motion. Try to get it to 300. There, then it just did 96. It reported an average there. It went about 300, but it didn't take the average. Holy mackerel, that ternary operator is actually working. I really didn't think it would. So, we've been... So this time it still reported 0. Because we haven't had 10 entries in a row that was 0 motion. Let's make that happen. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now it should get the average. Yep, it did. So that probably will work. Maybe this fixes the issue because it'll be 0. Yeah, because the average HR will stay what it was before, but the heart rate does reset. I didn't think it did. I was thinking that would throw off the averages, because you can imagine that if it repeated itself every minute, then the average would keep resetting, and then when it gets the averages that I want, it's going to be thrown way off because of how often it gets the average and then resets it and stuff. I want a big list of numbers and get an average from that. And I don't want it to be that frequent. So, wait, so yeah, I think what I might do is, so that's for 5 minutes. Do I want it to wait like 10 minutes? To be honest with you, I think I might just go with 5 minutes. I'm aware that the Fitbit disconnected. I might just go with 5 minutes. But I feel like when it comes to the total being greater than 300, so if HR index is, wait, is this right? Because if HR index is less than 10, oh, well, no, then it would reset. I'm a little bit confused by my own logic here. That's a problem. So I think this has to do with the 5 minute thing. So this only triggers if HR index is less than 10. Oh, but then if the total is greater than 300. Can I do like that if total is greater than 300 and HR index? So 10 is equal to 5 minutes. If I want to do like a 10-minute spacing, then well, I kind of like the idea of having 5 minutes of granularity though, like where it is within 5 minutes, like whether I'm in REM or not. I kind of liked having the idea of 5 minutes regardless. Oh, and then right here, I was just kind of looking at this AND statement. If HR index is greater than 10, that makes this whole statement false. I mean, I think it makes it true, but then this, well, then this not will make it true. Yeah, so it's like the expression, if it's true, then do this. If it's false, do that. And of course, you could nest this, so if I really wanted to, I could do a whole nother operator. So it gets the average heart rate if it HR index is greater than 10. I am gonna leave this part alone. But I think, yeah, this ternary operator is actually solving the original problem. I kind of overcomplicated this, but that's really all I am doing differently. So, I think I'm going to leave it at 10. But of course, I'm going to take this out and then reset the interval. So every 5 minutes, I think the way I wrote this is probably not right, but I'm just going to give it a shot anyway. And I'm going to try to get to bed earlier, so maybe I'll have more data to work with too. And then if I do end up getting exactly what I want and I seem to notice a reasonable correlation, then on Wednesday we could, on probably Wednesday, I can't make any promises, but Then we can have it so that it reports the time range that it thinks it may be in REM. That's going to be a pretty major change to the program, but I think that would be the next step. Then I can see how close things actually are, and I know at the time that I naturally woke up and see if it would do that correctly. And of course, I'm doing the time range in REM because then I can have it do what happens out of REM. So, yeah, I'm going to leave this at 10 because that'll be the 5 minutes. We're counting from 0 to 9. That's 10. And there's 2 per second, so that's, or 2 per minute, so that's 5 minutes. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And this does reset every time this runs, which is what I want. Because then I could like check it again 5 minutes later. It seems kind of frequent, but I'll probably have to do something with it. Potentially being in REM several times that it checks in a row. That's why I'm going to try to do the time range and see what kind of data we get. Because then if that works, then I may actually be able to program the alarm, and then it's not just data collection. Then we'll have a whole nother set of iterations with the actual program. That'd be kind of cool. The alarm and stuff. And I may even try to make it so they can be like input screens. So I can like press a button, it'll go to a different screen, ask a different question, like the resting heart rate or anything of that sort. Like the hour that I want to target, and I'm going to want to probably be able to target some number of minutes as well. I've programmed buttons before, but I didn't really have much luck figuring out the whole positioning thing, but that'd be something I'd like to be able to figure out. Oh, and then this went to 79%. Did you notice that? It's probably going to jump back to 80 pretty soon. But it's not perfect. It's within the neighborhood. I think that's better than putting it on 100 and then degrading the battery a lot quicker than it would otherwise. And of course, when I unplug the laptop, it'll drain down to whatever it does before I plug it in again. Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of that if statement because that accomplishes essentially the fix. Because if there is a lot of averages, that's just going to confuse me. The whole point was to reduce how often it takes the average, or like how often I see averages, because then I can be like, okay, so what happened from here to here? I don't want to be like what happened here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here, right? That's essentially what I fixed. So I think it'll work, but I don't know that for certain. So I'm going to leave it like this and not really overthink it. So this will still trigger, and the timing's going to be within 1 second. I really don't know how I arrived at this formula exactly. I can see how it would involve end time minus start time, but it'll be within a second. It has been. So I'm going with that formula. So now I got to get the latest version of the program on there. And it does seem to work just fine with multiple text areas, so that's not really a problem. Yeah, so that's essentially what this iteration is. I literally only did like 1 or 2 things, which was, honestly, this ternary operator is a whole different way to look at it. Then I changed the tolerance, so to speak. That's about all I did throughout this entire stream. Probably wasn't worth those 44 or 45 minutes just for that. But I'm pretty much done with the live stream at this point. All I have to do is get the latest version on the Fitbit. Then of course, since I now have the GitHub set up, I can update that pretty quickly. So, like, while I'm waiting for this, I may as well do that. So, and of course, I can move this over here so I remember to change back to the screen since I don't like it right there. Using my Steam controller to essentially switch the screen. And then that's how I was showing this. Or if I wanted to mute my microphone, I could do that as well. I have a Stream Deck, but unfortunately my USB hub doesn't provide enough power. I think I kind of talked about that before. Same with the capture card, unfortunately. So if I want to like use HDMI with my Raspberry Pi or the Intel NUC or anything, not enough power for that. Otherwise I could use this, but not enough power, not enough ports either. So Steam controller, since it's wireless, it's a much better solution since the power draw is hardly anything. Yeah, I could demonstrate what happens if I tried using the Stream Deck though. So, like, I have the Stream Deck software set up, but it's gonna cause the audio to cut out frequently, I think, if I tried it. You weren't hearing me right there. That's because it was drawing too much power. There wasn't enough power for the microphone and stuff. So, and the screen just blinks over and over again. That's what happened with the webcam in a previous stream, because that draws too much power as well. My other webcam that draws less power than this one, but it's still quite a lot either way. Oh no. I bet I have to enable the developer bridge again. Oh, my Steam controller shut off because wireless essentially disconnected. So I have to enable developer bridge again. I rambled and completely forgot about that. That was a little gap in my prospective memory, which is pretty important to have when lucid dreaming. You want to engage your prospective memory to recognize that you're dreaming, like if any of your dream signs occur or anything like that. So, and practicing it in real life is also a good idea. Like, I know you might do a shopping list, but try practicing without the shopping list. Like, you can still bring it, but try to see if you can do it without relying on the shopping list for a little bit. And then you can double check in the end, but see how good you are at remembering that. That's the prospective memory pretty much. Like, if I want to practice remembering to do reality tests, I could think of something I have to do in the day. This is a variation of Dr. Stephen LaBerge's target technique. So, like, I think of something that I know I have to do in the day, and I remind myself to do a reality test when that happened. And I try to do this throughout the day, like not too many times, of course, but maybe like 10, 15 times a day. So, like, I know I'm going to be using my TV later on, so maybe I would try to remember to do a reality test then. And I may realize 10 minutes into using the TV that I had forgotten. That could totally happen, right? That's the idea. So the more I practice, the sooner I'll realize, and that's how it is with lucidity as well. So when you're first doing it, you might get lucid at the very end of the dream, and then it's over with, and you really didn't have a lot of time. For that reason, the dream didn't last very long, but the better you get at it, the earlier in the REM cycle or in the dream that you'll recognize you're dreaming, and thus it can go on for longer. Now, if you're doing wild or awakened state lucid dreams where you fall asleep consciously, that's a different story. But in a dialed with your overall practice, same thing with that prospective memory thing. Like, it's 8:44 for me right now, so maybe I try to remember to do one at 9. And I did one before this stream, and I think I am still streaming. Yeah, unfortunately I think I'm awake, but if you're doing a reality test, do not take my word for it. You might be in a dream. And if I say you're not in a dream, that's when you really need to question it. I think I just installed that. So now that was a failure in my retrospective memory. Prospective memory is like the ability to remember to do things in the future. Retrospective is in the past. And retrospective memory can be just as important as well. That's where the binary technique can come into play. Daniel loves binary technique. You think about when you last went to bed or got up. It's actually a really simple one, but it engages retrospective memory, so it can be kind of effective. So if you're in a situation where you really can't do a reality test, at least referencing the binary technique would be a good idea, because it should be relatively quick. Or thinking about what shirt you put on in the morning, and are you still wearing that shirt? Like, is your shirt the right one, essentially? That's another example of engaging retrospective memory. That is a reality test, because you're thinking about, like, how did I get here, and does everything make sense, that kind of thing. Now, I may not actually say everything perfect on the spot, like, because it's such a complex topic, you really have to be careful what you say. You may actually share the wrong idea without meaning to. There's just so much to the subject that it's very easy to do that, and I may have just done that myself, I don't know. But, yeah, so like I'll remember to do one at 9, which will be in 13 minutes, and I'll be done streaming by then. So I'm gonna try this version of the app and see how it works out. So I think I'll wrap this stream. Oh, by the way, it kept erroring out when I was installing the app. I hit run, and then it errored out again. Then I hit run again, and then it worked. It's a connection issue. Anyway, that is it. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to let me know. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, I believe that is it. So thanks for watching, and have a good one. Peace.